Welcome to Networking with Nathaniel, a podcast where I get to chat with a super high level individuals who are doing really cool things inside and outside of the real estate space. I've had a lot of cool people coming on that came on last year, and the new year 2025 has started off with a bang. We had Michael Manatsakanyan last week, and this week I am excited to chat with a friend of mine. It's actually one of the few people that are coming on this podcast that I've met in person. I met this guy, who it was back in maybe June of 2024, just on a whim. He happened to be networking with somebody that I was at an event with, and she invited him to a dinner that we were going to, and I got the pleasure of meeting him, giving him a big hug in person. He has been an active real estate investor. He is a husband and a father of two little adorable humans, a boy and a girl. I forget Ranger and I forget his daughter's name. Rami. Yeah, 4 and 3. Yeah, so they're really close together as well. He's got a lot of cool things coming for 2025 inside the real estate space, especially in the Las Vegas market. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. Welcome to Networking with Nathaniel, Aaron Lambert.
What up?
Aaron is currently at a Starbucks because he's traveling for some business stuff, and the Wi-Fi sucks where he's at.
Yeah, this is my traveling backdrop, virtual backdrop.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. Well, how you doing, man? I appreciate you being on.
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. Loving this new year. Loving what's to come. Yeah, definitely appreciate you having me on here. Yeah, so doing great, man. Loving it.
Yeah. So you have been wholesaling primarily. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Hopefully that's better. And that's not changing. You're still going to be wholesaling, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, when you've done as well as you've been, why would you stop it?
Well, I'm not stopping it by now. I'm more or less building the company so I don't have to be a major part of it. More of like the outside looking in rather than the inside guy doing everything.
Yeah.
Not everything, but I do a lot of. As most startup companies, you wear many hats, right? So I've been the operator in my company for the beginning. I have a really good partner named Ben Alvarez, and he is the acquisition side, and we kind of fell into those roles. Just we were both doing acquisition at first, and then both trying to dispo, and then it just kind of happened that I was good at finding buyers and building relationships, and he was good at talking to agents and doing that thing. He come from I think he used to be an old home investor, so he kind of come from that type of acquisition side of things. And yeah, it's just unless you're really set up, it's a constant grind, or unless you're really good. Right, there's people out there that I know that are wholesale, and they're like a one-man show, and they're knocking down great deals with huge assignments. And it's like we do a lot. We do more volume, but a smaller assignments. So I'm just trying to get more automated, which I'm almost there. Lacking a few pieces, but bringing in a integrator / operator and bringing in like a dispo side. Of course, I'm going to take less profit in my pocket, but it's less work I have to do. So I'm not really
right
as long as it's bringing in income.
Yeah. What is you mentioned the operator and an integrator, one piece kind of thing. What does it look like currently outside of you and Ben?
So we have a TC.
Okay.
And we have a VA that she doesn't have like one sole role. She deals with a lot of marketing material. She does a lot of like loading up leads, and she does do lead generation on text and email. She does a little number of little things. We have a couple lead generator setter type people. They're like, they have W-2s, so they're like hit or miss. And then we've been going through a few closers, like interviewing a few closers, and that's something now. And then recently I put a plug in there for button leads and top tier integrator. Gabe Garber. I've got set up with his system, and I've been using GHL for a long time, but never really
Yeah.
had it totally dialed in, and it's just a painful task to have to go do everything yourself. So his
Yeah.
top tier integrator company that he couples with, Button Lead, they kind of like do whatever you need. You pay, you pay for it, obviously a monthly, but whatever you need change, whatever automation you need set up, whatever, everything, and they'll walk you through it and they'll do it for you, and it's great.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you use like insider term right there, GHL, go
Oh
high
yeah, go high
level.
level CRM.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the best CRM out there, but it's freaking the best CRM out there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
click my link below, my affiliate code.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Pay the man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
what is
I mean,
what is it? Oh yeah.
it's so robust, right?
Yeah.
It does so much. You need to have somebody that's like, they just manage that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's
So
Well, it's
yeah,
awesome that you found a service, a provider that can do that for you and on like a monthly basis. So it takes that off even your integrator's plate now. They don't have to go learn something. They can just do the things that you want them to be doing that are really moving the needle forward. Like, yeah, setting up automations is moving the needle forward, but is there something more valuable, higher, a higher value tasks that you could be doing with that time? I find myself in my CRM sometimes like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm on with chat. It's been 45 minutes and I don't have an answer still. Like I could have just paid somebody to do that.
Button Lead, baby.
Yeah, Button Leads. Okay, there. Affiliate link in the description.
Yeah.
What is it that you're seeing as hurdles right now to get yourself out of the kind of day-to-day thing and a little bit more in a really business owner, high level operator?
A good operator,
Okay.
right? Because I want to be an owner, not an operator.
Yeah.
At least on that facet. And this operator has integrator traits, meaning they know systems and processes, they know what needs to be put in place. They're not necessarily techie, they're not the guy going in there and doing it, but they could delegate to the people that need to do it or tell me what you need, what systems we need to get that going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you
So,
started this hiring process yet?
yeah, I actually have a second interview with one this afternoon.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Is this it's all going to be virtual?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't
Okay.
need it, maybe one day I'll have somebody that's in Vegas with me. Maybe I'll have an office once we get big enough. Not maybe. One day we will have an office because,
Yeah.
the second part of the wholesale company is the fix and flip company. So there's three
Okay.
levels of my empire that I'm trying to build. It's the wholesale, which I really don't want very little to do with. The fix and flip, which I like. The design aspect of fix and flip, like turning trash into gold. And
Yep.
then the buy and hold. Buy and hold is like my creme de la creme. Like that's what I would prefer to focus on always because I like cash flow. Yeah, chunks of cash are nice periodically. I mean, chunks of cash would be great every day, but like on the wholesale and the fix and flip, the wholesale is like your smaller chunks, and they're not frequent enough right now to.
Mm.
Yes, they pay for stuff, but they're not frequent enough right now to like really be like what it's not where I needed to be, right? The fix and flip, we actually just started this year where we found a partner that believed in what we're doing. She's putting up 100% of the gap. But one thing that was holding me and my partner back was finding reasonable price gap money. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to knock your head off. I mean, at least people we were talking to, right?
Yeah.
So we found somebody that I'll fund every one of your gaps. So we just formed a company and she takes a portion of the profit. Doesn't make anything on the money. She just takes a portion of the profit. And she's actually working in the company with us. Like she's helping with design and stuff. Like she has little things that she does too. So it's not
Okay.
like she's just sitting on the sidelines. So yeah, it's really nice to acquire that. And we just closed on our first flip yesterday. We close on a subtail in 2 weeks. So that's already starting our goal of one a month for the rest of the year.
Nice. That's awesome. I want to get to the buy and hold stuff and what you're doing there, because the last time we talked, it's been a couple or a few months now at this point. I was excited about it. I wanted to go back though really quick. You mentioned that you have some like lead generator, lead setter people that are doing, also working in a W-2. How did you find those people?
In the creative real estate group.
Okay. Creative with Pace Morby. And these are people that are coming in and kind of trying to learn from you, it's potentially, and then be able to go do their own thing.
You never really know anybody's motive, but the goal is, and finding out what, how good they are. So we determine usually on the first call whether they're a setter or a closer, right?
Okay.
Specifically, I'm looking for closers that know how to negotiate right now, and those are harder to find because if they're good at closing, they're probably doing it on their own or with somebody else. But there are people out there that are good at closing that want to be on a team because they don't have all the other pieces. Yeah, you can close the deal. Great. What you can do with it after that?
Yeah.
Or, whatever. So, we have a couple people that I'm actively, they're in the system now working leads. And they're about 1 to 2 weeks in. They are previous agents and are agents. Have sales experience, good at talking direct to seller and agent. So seems to be they just need to brush up on their creative offering.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And get out of the whole agent mindset.
Right. Yeah, and that's not always an easy thing to pivot away from.
At least if you're open to learning it, it's a little easier.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the people that are in the creative group, it's Creative Finance with Pace Morby. I believe that's the name of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason. They've come to, they were drawn to the creative finance side of Pace Morby. So that's a good starting point, at least. Hey, you're open-minded enough to come into this group. It's not the sub 2 like the hat you're wearing on, where people have paid to come into this, to this group, but at least they've taken a step of action to like, hey, I'm interested. I want to learn more about this. So as far as you mentioned the flipping, you're just starting that, getting to, you're going to have a second closing here before the end of the month. It sounds like that's freaking amazing, especially for just starting something. Actually, let's take a pin. Let's put a pin in the buy and hold.
Let's not get any false expectations to the listeners out there. We didn't just get started anything. We've been at this for 3 years, and we flipped 2 properties.
Oh, okay.
Last year.
Okay.
So we were just lacking the funding, right?
Okay. To be able to consistently do it. Yeah. Okay.
And that's a whole nother piece of the operation that we can get into. I'm sure you're highly aware of that piece, the funding aspect of it. But
yeah. So you're just like, when you said that we're just like kind of focused on adding this piece and being consistent with it now, starting in 2025, now that you have this funding in place.
Now we have the funding partner. We could be more strategic instead of because before it was like, okay, we'd find good deals out there. And it's like, maybe we didn't have enough cash in the bank account to do whatever we need to do because we have EMDs out on, 10 properties or whatever it might be, right? The ebb and flows of the account. Well, whenever you're locking up a deal with a wholesaler, they want, 5,000 EMD non-refundable. And then you have to have the lending in place. So if you don't have those 2 pieces, it's like, I just have to pass up a bunch of deals because I don't want to risk losing. I've already lost EMD before because of that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to risk it. So now that we have it in place, now we could actually, with our wholesale business, now we cherry pick. And we actually use our wholesale business and wholesale to our flipping company. So we still make an assignment fee.
Yep. Well, that was something that I struggled with a little bit when I was wholesaling, at least starting out, is that you have to compartmentalize the businesses, because the wholesaling company has employees that need to be paid, and have operating costs that need to be taken care of. And if the flipping company is not its own separate entity that is just a leads, your wholesaling company is just a lead source, then whenever you take a deal and put it into the flipping company, like, hey, where's that food on these people's table coming from? So being able
Exactly.
to compartmentalize that is awesome. That was something that I struggled with a little bit early on, when we were trying to do both things. Is like, no, you got to treat them separately, and that's how you're able to do the finances and the expenses for each company. You don't need to quote it. They're different companies.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
there's a kid in the background now, isn't there?
Yep.
Yeah. It's not Aaron.
A few ones screaming.
Before there's some people that are listening to this now, because I marketed this as from prison to properties. And this is not something that you and I have talked about something at all at this point. So I am curious. We don't have to talk about why. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff necessarily, because I don't want anybody to feel differently about you. But you were in
I
prison.
killed 3
When did
people.
you? Oh my gosh. Okay. And then you got acquitted. No, I'm just. Oh,
The glove
if you,
didn't fit.
yeah, that's right. If we haven't gotten the like goofy fun side out of Aaron until just right now. So that's the Aaron that I know, and that's the Aaron that I love. How long were you in for? When did you get out?
So I was in for just under 4 years. Actually, so I went in September of 16, and then
Okay.
they gave me 6 years, but I did some programs and a lot of stuff in there, to better myself and to get some time off. But I got out on home confinement in February of 2020, and then I was like 8 months home confinement. So it was
Oh,
like 4 year stretch being in the BOP, Department of Bureau of Prisons, federal custody, if you
okay.
will.
Were you married at the time of going in?
Absolutely.
Okay, because it's the timing of your kids lining up right now mentally is like you had a kid uh, pretty right when you got out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we got, so the crazy thing is, I got busted in April of 15, and then I was on pretrial release while I was fighting my case, and then we got married in May of 15. She
Okay.
stayed with me throughout the entirety, and shout out to my wife Erica, because she's a trooper.
Mm,
She stuck through it the whole time. So it was
yeah.
definitely great to get out and have a place to go to. I didn't have any money when I got out, but I had her.
Yeah. So when you were in, what were the things? Well, yeah. Did you know you wanted to go into real estate? Because you got out at a pretty chaotic time. A month or so
Yeah,
after you got out was like, hey, the world's shutting down.
COVID, yay! Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
cool story
COVID. Yeah.
behind that. Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it back, bring it back. No, you'll know why I said that whenever we're done with this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. COVID sucks.
Yeah.
My so real estate. I've always had like this wanting to do, right? Wanting to do real estate, never really knowing how. And then while I
Mm,
was in, I inundated myself outside of the Bible. All I read was uh, business, and I would say 90% was real estate related, and then
okay.
anything around real estate business genre is what I just
Yeah, that's
really focused on as to increasing my knowledge while I was in there. And then I got out in 2020 and didn't do any. Actually, I lie. I got out in 2020. I made one offer on a property. Went and met it with an agent. Went to the property, made an offer on it. Didn't get it, but that was like the only thing I did in real estate in 2020.
okay. One
Yeah,
offer, yes. Yeah, you can get a deal with one offer, but typically that's not gonna get the
yeah. Well, I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I was like, okay. So when I got out, I went on. Was it? I was looking at. I think I found Jerry Norton and kind of got his little platform, and I was just going on. I was literally going on Zillow looking at properties and then finding the APN number, and then going to find the owner. And then I found the skip trace company, literally like was talking to them on the phone. They're like, yeah, send me your Excel spreadsheet. I sent them an Excel spreadsheet of 50 properties to skip trace. And then they skip traced them. I was literally texting them manually. Bro, I knew nothing, zero. I was still in the halfway house. Just and taking action. There was no Pace Morby. I didn't know Pace Morby, right? There was nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was listening a little bit. I was just doing like what I thought I needed to do, and then unfortunately, I didn't do anything then with real estate. But you know, the rest of the story ends up pretty good. So
Gets you here. Yeah.
yeah,
You're networking with Nathaniel. Come on.
yeah.
What did you do you put that one offer in, like what did you do in the meantime, and then when did you end up getting into, okay, I got to do real estate?
So pandemic happened, I get out, I'm a fellow, and I can't. So previous to prison, I've been working as a pipe fitter in the oil refineries doing construction for like 15 years. Yeah, I had worked myself up to like foreman, general foreman and stuff, and so I'm really skilled in that area. But in Vegas, there's very little of that. I went and joined the union, did my written test, and then COVID, and then they shut down the union hall, so I couldn't go do my hands-on test. So that there was no work there. And then, so I'm driving around town looking at like grocery stores, like trying to go get a job at a grocery store, and they're like, you're too qualified, or you're overqualified, or they didn't hire me because of my record. I'm like, dude, I can go get a job making like, 15 times more than y'all pay, and you're gonna tell me I can't work here?
Yeah.
Oh, like whatever. Anyways, I'm glad you didn't hire me.
You're right.
Because
it's a blessing.
Because the reason is because I had somebody in halfway house call me. It's like, hey man, he's like, everybody needs these dang masks, and I know where to get them. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, and he like gave me the breakdown, like price and stuff. I'm like, it's kind of expensive, but okay, dude. I literally opened up the phone book and just started dialing, calling everybody on the freaking planet, going online, looking at all medical supplies, just calling everybody, all medical places, everything, and trying to, hey, I got these masks. Never verified where the masks were. Never verified anything. Just, hey, I got these masks. And then I got one sale. I made like $40. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, over the course of my calling, I ended up getting introduced to my wife's friend's boyfriend, which is a doctor, and he was doing the same thing. Well, I ended up opening up a company, an LLC, and then me and him partnered up. We closed our first deal in like June, and I made like $64,000. And then shortly after that, we got a distributorship with a test kit company out of New Jersey that sold COVID test kit And from I would say January of 21 to March of 22, my company, I think totally I did, between my company and my buddy's company, we did about 50 million in revenue, but I did 30 million in revenue through my bank accounts. And when COVID died, I took my winnings and started buying real estate. And then sadly, I spent half of my money on real estate, and then the other half we got scammed. I think we lost like 1.2 million or something from dude scammed us. Yeah, we never recovered from that. So that was the end of our COVID career. It started with a bang and ended with a huge scam that took half of our earnings. But I still made out with like 7 properties. I would say collectively I have about 30% equity across the board in all of them. Owned some land in California, and then I turned 4 or 5 of them into Airbnbs, and they've been doing great. So that's what started my real estate journey, is in early of 2021. 2022. And then it wasn't until I think September of 22 when I just totally said goodbye to like the medical space, because I was still making a little bit of money selling little bits of stuff, up until that time. But I totally said goodbye, and I spoke, and that's when I met Ben, and we just started wholesaling, and we closed our first deal I think a month and a half after we started together.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Was
he was
there
in sub 2, so that's how I met sub 2.
okay? And were there, I mean, I'm guessing, but were there things that you were able to translate from, opening up a phone book and making calls and getting to the $30 million of revenue coming in to the wholesaling business? Like, and if so, like, what were those things that you were able to translate that you learned from that medical supply stuff?
You know what? If there was anything that translated, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Okay.
I have no clue. We were like, look, two dudes and Excel and a PDF editor for dude. We were
Wow.
not set up. We
Yeah.
didn't have a staff. We didn't have a warehouse. I had a bank account and I had my laptop where I was doing invoices, PDF invoices, like manually.
Wow. So like knowing what you know now, maybe things would have been different then.
Oh my God. You
Yeah.
should have seen my Excel spreadsheet. I sent it to my CPA after 2021. And he was like, bro, this is not a P&L. I'm like, just how I track everything. Dude, I was tracking every deal manually.
That's crazy. It's funny because I tell people to start with Excel. And like Excel is a very basic CRM, but I would never I wouldn't recommend doing $30 million worth of business through Excel. I would say
Bro.
go high level. Go to the affiliate link. Like
Well, Excel is just a spreadsheet, and like then I
yeah.
got QuickBooks, and I was like, okay, well, cool QuickBooks, but you still have to go in there and do stuff. I don't know how to do all
Right.
this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I hired a CPA or not a CPA, like a bookkeeper.
Okay.
Yeah, the bookkeeper,
Try to clean
those
things up a
people
little
are
bit.
worth their weight in gold if they're good. And once you get them rolling, it's just really just up to then.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I've been telling Brittany. She's back there listening. I'm telling, hey, we need to get a bookkeeper. It takes that off your plate. Like she's doing it and she's doing a fantastic job, but it's something that needs to be upkept. And just bringing somebody in to take that off your plate now, like going back to the, bringing in an operator and bringing in an integrator, it takes those things off your plate and you can go focus on higher and bigger things, right? That the CEO, the COO are supposed to be going and doing.
Yeah.
Granted, she likes doing it, so I'm not gonna like. Sometimes you got to take the CEO and business hat off and go, okay, the husband hat's on.
Yeah.
Let her do her
Hey,
thing.
if she likes doing it and good at it, then hey, by all
Yeah,
means, right?
leave it. Yeah,
My
leave
wife,
it.
like I tried to get my wife to do it. My wife's like she's pen and pad. She's like this. She's like pulling out her pencil and she's writing on a note. She's like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's
nah,
got
this
the
ain't
old like spool, the calculator with the spool of paper on it. It's on her
like,
visor.
this is not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
That's funny. So you've been wholesaling for 3 years now at this, well, close to coming up on 3 years.
Yeah. September 3 years.
Yeah. And so this is a testament here that like getting yourself out of a business takes time. It takes time to learn processes. It takes time to learn systems. It takes time to develop the skills to be a good leader. Aaron's just getting, well, I mean, you've had hires, but you're like just really now starting to go, I need to get myself out of this so I could do bigger and better things. The bigger and better, the bigger and better things being, the flipping and then buying and holding property. So tell me about that. I know we talked about it a little bit previously, but refresh my memory, kind of catch me up to speed on what 2025 has in store for Aaron and buying and holding properties.
Yeah, so the buy and hold is where I started. And I started doing it
Right.
not
Yeah.
knowing anything about creative finance. And so whenever I started wholesaling, I was like, oh, great. I'm going to wholesale all the money that I'm going to make wholesaling. I'm just going to roll into my buy and holds that I'm going to find creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And that never happened.
Yep.
So, so now, I've located, a little bit of private money, but they're short. But the outlook on my buy and hold business is to purchase properties that are either high yield short term or like slam dunk pad split or my my bread and butter will be is going to be here in Vegas. We're doing independent living. So I have a partner, and all she does for the past 10 years is independent living. She has about 10 facilities, and she wants to partner. Well, we partnered together. I'm locating the properties, and then I'm going to purchase them. But I mean, the way that I'm purchasing them is Morby Method.
Okay.
So zero money out of my pocket,
Yeah.
zero money, you know, actually using the Morby Method to have carrying costs and, you know, conversion costs, furnishing costs, all of the above. So
I don't think we've had an explanation of Morby Method on Networking with Nathaniel yet.
Okay, well, we can get into it. It's
Yeah,
great.
would you? Yeah, just like a really, like I'm a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Explain
So
me.
what I'm going to tell you, I do not advise for the newbie to try,
Yeah,
or anybody that does not understand creative finance
yeah,
and over leverage. So first of all, you need to start out. Well, for me, I'm starting out. I have to look at properties that are going to yield me. You know, they're like high yield monthly. They're not. You know, they're way light years past LPR, right?
yeah.
And that's how I'm underwriting, and that's all I'm doing on these properties. So the way that the Morby Method works is it works specifically well for either straight seller finance, meaning a property that's owned 100% free and clear, or a property that has a really, really, really low mortgage balance. And the reason for that is, you know, what we offer to the sellers is, so we're always offering creative finance, right? Hey, will your seller take 8% down and 4% interest? And they're like, heck no, they want 25% down. We're like, hey, well, how about this? How about I give them 50? They're like, wow, 50, yeah, okay.
Yeah, what the heck?
So yeah, so we're able to give 50% to the seller, and then we're asking for a 50% carryback with no more than 2% interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so where's the 50% coming from, right? So we go to what's called a DSCR, debt service coverage ratio lender. These lenders will lend against the property and the property's performance or potential performance, not against the investor. Now, the investor does have a small role in that, right? They have to be at least bankable, and they have to at least have some experience to get a better rate. But if you have a property that's going to perform well and your numbers make sense, then the lender will give you, 50, 60, 70, even I have a lender that will give me 85% loan to value. That's
Wow.
huge, right? Why is that huge? Like, if I seriously wanted to completely over leverage myself on a property, I can legitimately go and say, hey, Mr. Lender, I want to get 85% loan to value on this property. And he's like, okay, you just got to bring in the 15%. Great. I go to my transactional lender and say, hey, Mr. Lender, I need to borrow your money for like a day. And he brings in the 15%. And then my lender funds the account for 85. And you're like, okay, well, cool. So then that's the first leg of the transaction. The second leg of the transaction is the escrow instructions, where we're telling the escrow, hey, the seller is actually going to carry 50% of the purchase price. So that additional 35% that just got sent to you from the lender, that needs to come back to me minus closing costs.
Yeah.
So at closing, I'm getting paid 35% less closing costs to purchase this property.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can take that 35%. I could have reserves for an entire year of payments. I could have, money for furnishing. I could have money for, whatever. I put money in my pocket, go to a steak restaurant, whatever I want to do, right?
Yeah, Starbucks.
Now, it's Starbucks. I can't stand Starbucks. I only use their free Wi-Fi. Coffee's overpriced.
The backdrops are nice, though. Yeah.
I actually went down the street and got a coffee and then came here.
I usually walk in with my cup of tea. They're like, yeah, what the heck?
Yeah. Nice to see you, Nathan.
Yeah. So you're able to enter into this property with not only zero out of pocket, but potentially, if you choose to, money in your pocket.
Correct.
or money in a bank account, an LLC account, as you know, in
Correct.
case something goes wrong with the property, yada yada yada. Your this DSCR lender is going off of your independent living underwriting.
So not yet, but they do go off of
Okay.
STR.
Okay.
So they will pull short-term rental rates. Now, I do have a lender that has been working with my partner here in Vegas that knows what she's doing, sees the returns, and has lent to her before. So he will lend to her on her projects.
Okay.
So they are out there. I think it's really, building a relationship with a lender and doing a deal or two with them, and before they'll come. But that's the only way it will work too. Is your SDR numbers have to be high, at least
Right.
from my experience thus far, right? So you have to have a high yield SDR numbers to be able to pull the money. And now, granted, if you're only going in at 60%, then your payment's going to be much less, so you don't have to be pulling crazy numbers. But if you want to over leverage yourself, I don't advise over leveraging unless your property is going to make to cover that and a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You have because you don't want to over leverage. Because if you go get an 85 LTV and a 50%, you're 135%, right? You have to have a good plan with that cash to be able to turn it, right? To turn the profits that you need to pay down this mortgage, right? So I don't advise that unless you're either you got a cash problem, meaning you got a ton of cash coming in from another source that is not related to your real estate, or you have something that you're immediately going to put the money into that's going to make you money, right? The high returns and coupled with the high return on the property that you're doing. So the numbers have to make sense. And look at this too. So what we're focused on, I'm focused on doing no more than 70%.
Okay.
And the reason on the back end, we're trying to get a blended rate under 4, right? So if I go get right now, my lender will give me a 70% loan to value at, he'll give me an 80%, 6.99. He'll give me a 70% at 6.75. That's freaking great.
Yeah.
That's like regular mortgage rates right now. And so I can get that. And then as long as my seller carry is under 2%, my blended rate is going to be down. Now, if I can get a 0%, at 6.75, my blended rate is going to be like 3.2.
Yeah.
Something like that. So depending, but it's going to be in there. So, that's how we're focused on.
We may be getting a little into the weeds, but just out of curiosity, are you weighting the weights to come up with that blended rates, or are you just taking them just to round up like the 7 and the 2 and going, this is 3.5?
No, I'm putting it in Chat GPT and telling them what the numbers are and say, hey, give me my blended rate, dude, and it does the calculation.
There you go.
No way.
Use that robot. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not stupid. If I got a 50% at 8 and a 50% at 0, that's 4%. But once you get like, once I'm not gonna sit there and figure it out. I just put it in chat. I already built a GPT for it. Just like here are the 4 numbers, right? Loan percent. That's it.
Yeah.
And it gives
I just like, for the people out there listening, when I say that, Aaron picked right up on it. Is you can't just take the 2 percentages and go 1 + 1 divided by 2, and that's the number that we're talking about. It's because when I'm looking at 80, 70, 80, 85% on one end, of the purchase price and 50% on the other end, you have to weight that higher rate because there's more money involved there. And so, the blended rate is a true combination of both of those rates that way. That being said, would you explain independent living a little bit? Because from my understanding from our previous conversation, it's co-living, but more targeted to a specific person or a specific avatar.
Illegal assisted living.
Okay. It's unofficial.
No.
It's not illegal. It's unofficial. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just make sure there's it's level ground. There's no little step ups. Yeah, no, it's So the way that it's your lowest tiered assisted living, and it's really structured towards your 55 plus community on structured payments, or they have structured income,
Mhm.
um, and they have or they have a job. A lot of they have some of the facilities are like all veterans. Some of
Okay.
them are a mix. Some of them are just all older women, but it's a mix like that. But they're all 55 plus and veterans and or just like fixed income.
Yeah. And when I've never messed with assisted living, so I'm using a little bit of my imagination with it, but I imagine with assisted living, there's somebody like a nurse or something like that that's there to help these people with their medicine, their day to day, their medical needs. Is there something like that in this independent living, or is it truly like independent? You're just coming in here and you're with like-minded or like similar, demographic people.
Yeah, so there is nobody on staff fully,
Okay.
and because it is the lowest tiered assisted living, meaning they don't really need assistance, right? It's like
Right.
you know, but they do offer. So they do have somebody on, like they have a 24-hour maintenance guy, and then they have a 24-hour lady that will if there is any type of like she's like a medical type of person. Like if there is anything that she needs to attend to, like she'll drive to the properties and or take
Okay.
somebody to the. If it's not too serious, she'll give them a ride to the hospital or whatever, or to the doctor or whatever. If they don't have a car, and then they do offer. So some of the people want to have their meals cooked for them. So they have a
Okay.
service where, and that goes off of your monthly rate. Like they have an $800 bed a month or a $1,200 bed a month. Those are like your lower tier. 800 is basic. 1,200 is we're cooking for you. Like
Okay.
meal prep. They'll come meal prep
Yeah.
once a week,
Yeah.
once or twice a week, and then the
And
rates
that's
go up
something that
from there. Yeah, depending on if they're like in a room by themselves, if they got a private bath. All depends on how the place is set up. Kind of like Patch, but if you got a private bath, you're going to get more. If you got a
right.
private bath with a kitchenette, you're going to get more. So,
Yeah. Yeah, if you got like a TiVo, you get a little $25
and
boost.
yeah, and it's all in house. So
Okay.
we're not using pad split, right? There's no
Right.
management fees for pad split, and you have to find the people, right? It's all self managed. Which my partner, she's already set up, right? She has her little company that's what they're doing, and so she's been in real estate for 20 years in Vegas, and she was working with a medical type group of people. I don't know, just kind of in that genre, healthcare, whatever. And they were always looking for beds for people that were like 55, like that genre of peeps. So she was
Mm.
like, she was finding the beds, and then she's like, "Why don't just make the beds?
Yeah, why don't I just do this myself? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be the bed, right? Like, hey, there's the
Yeah.
bed." So she has a laundry list of she has a waiting list of people that she could plug in. Like, just to give you an example, lender screwed me up on this one. This is why I love creative finance. But we were supposed to close on a deal on November 25th. I was buying a property for 630, and it was an ARV like 950. I got it appraised at like 1.1. But we were buying it as a fix and flip price, and then we were going to turn around and convert the garage, and then refi, do a BRRRR method, right? Lender totally screwed me. But the
Mm.
property itself, it had 4 bedrooms already. So we were adding 1 bedroom inside and 3 bedrooms to the garage. But the cool thing about this property is the inside was already done. So she had so many people waiting. We were going to do the 1 bedroom on the inside. And then while we were still doing construction outside, we were just going to fill all the rooms. So we were going to be
Yeah.
generating like 6K a month, just on those 5 rooms, uh, because she has the people waiting, like just
Yeah.
always waiting. Like she's hitting me up every day. She sent me a property this morning to try to get under contract creatively. So my focus, if anybody's out there listening, I'm looking
That's most
for single story in Vegas that I could do some type of creative finance. I mean, or even the fixing for it, but it needs to be like minimum, 4.2, close to 2,000 square feet with a garage, no pool, no HOA preferably, but even if it does, it could work if it has one of like those little, they call them the lawn maintenance HOAs.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Somebody told me about it the other day. It's like you're only paying so they maintain the landscaping.
Right.
They're not doing
Yeah.
anything else. That's like my HOA in Vegas. Like we don't see them. They don't talk about nothing.
Yeah.
They just want to make sure the
Yeah.
landscaping that everybody can see is good.
It's nice and clean and taken care of and all uniform. Yeah. No, those are the ones that you like, the ones that are staying out of your business. It's the HOAs that are like, hey, you can't have more than 2 people that are non-family members in this house, and they have to be there for at least 6 months. And if their shoes are black, kick them out. What the heck?
Yeah.
Goodness. It sounds like you mentioned the with over leveraging. You mentioned having the another stream of cash flow that's coming in. I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I wanted to throw another thing in the ring, as far as having an experienced operator like you found gives you a little bit more leeway to go and over leverage this. Like, hey, I know she's got a waiting list, she's got systems and processes, she knows what she's doing, she has this proven track record. Would you agree with that? That like, hey, it gives me a little bit more confidence that I can, over leverage this house a little bit.
100%. But even with the over leverage, I have to make sure that the over leverage is going to float. Well, it'll float me for 6 months, but I have to make sure that the income is still going to supersede the monthly expense, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't, because it won't, after a while, it won't make sense, right?
Right.
You might have 6 months reserves, but after that 6 months is done, then, it's costing you, $7,000 to operate the property, and you're only bringing in 6. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it still has to make sense on the cash flow side, because you don't want to be cash flow negative.
Right. And does the DSCR lender know that you're? Yeah. Okay.
No. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
Your loan officer might, like your loan originator, but I think the lender himself or company, whatever, they're not privy to it. But
Yeah.
some of them don't care. Some of them are okay with seller, because seller has to be in second position.
Right.
Yeah. And
so you got to pass seller
okay with it. Yeah. So that has to be conversation number one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not number one, maybe 2 or 3. I don't know. Sneak it in. But no, I'm just kidding. Hey,
just write a little clause in the paperwork. Yeah.
Hey, while you're signing, by the way, you're in second position.
Yeah. Disappearing ink, like.
Yeah. Deals fall apart because of that. People lock it up and they don't tell the seller, or they don't properly explain it. Then that's another risk you're taking on the over leverage thing, right? Because if anything ever goes wrong, you need to make sure that you have some type of way to make this right if something goes wrong, because you don't want to screw the seller over and yourself. I mean, screwing yourself over is one thing, but when you bring in other people into it, that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, that's something that I just be as upfront and straightforward and honest with sellers, with agents as you can be. It makes the rest of the transaction and everything else a lot easier and smoother. You don't have to keep track of all these things. I run into so many wholesalers that are out there. Just, it's okay to represent yourself as, I have buyers behind me. And it's okay to start the conversation with as a buyer, but at some point you have to let the seller know, I'm not buying this deal. We just closed on one a few weeks ago, and at the closing table, it's super awkward for me because I'm not the person that they've been talking to this whole time, and they thought that the person they were talking to is closing on the deal.
Were you sitting at the table with them?
Oh yeah, I was sitting at the table with them.
Oh, see, I don't ever see this. I don't ever meet the sellers normally.
Right.
Virtually.
Yeah. Well, I like to do them right here at my table. Oh, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah, we didn't clean up after lunch, clearly. The placements. But Yeah, every now and then I like going. I don't know, social media purposes. It makes for a nice little picture op. I
Yeah,
like
I
meeting
get it.
sellers. That's something that I miss about that's something I miss about wholesaling and going direct to sellers. I love the conversations, but when you haven't represented yourself, the wholesaler hasn't represented themselves properly, it makes it a little awkward. So it ended up working out for me. The seller wants to buy the property back essentially once we've rehabbed it. So potentially we already have a buyer in place. But enough about that. You
Hmm.
mentioned as we're coming to the top of the hour here, you mentioned, while you were in prison, you read a lot of books, real estate, business related. And maybe they're not ones that you read while you were doing that, but you've read otherwise. Do you have any books that have, really moved the needle, really touched you, inspired you that I can take note of? And I got a running list going of all the books that have happened on networking with Nathaniel.
Okay, yeah. So I would say number one book for everybody in the entirety of the planet is the Bible. Number one.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
that one.
there's no other book. I mean, yeah, you could say, well, I want it to be business related. Well, yeah, that's great, but you understand the Bible and the concepts of the Bible and believe what the Bible says. That all that other stuff will come. If your faith is
Hmm.
properly placed in the one and only Jesus, then all that other stuff will come. If you got a brain, in your
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
So I
He
would
put
say
it there.
yeah, number two for anybody, and you've probably heard this many times, but it's the one book that got me started, and it really sparked me to read every other book that this man wrote, and all of his other peeps, all of his like advisors, every one of them that the books that
Mm,
they wrote. That's all I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
yeah.
I mean,
I wish
it's a hands down great book. I mean, if I had a
yeah.
second one, Think and Grow Rich. That was a really good one too.
Okay.
And those
Yeah.
those books you can read over and over again. They're that good.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have
I don't have
somebody. I'm
anything
gonna
earth
hire
shattering
somebody
that
that's
you haven't.
no. Yeah, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
somebody go back at some point and listen to every single episode. Well, I guess they don't have to listen to the whole episode. They could just listen to the last like 5 or 10 minutes and track
Dude,
how
they
many
have
times.
AI for that, bro.
Oh
AI.
yeah, you're right. You're totally
They
right.
have it will plug into your YouTube and you could just go, hey, what's the book? Just pop it up. You don't have to worry
I
about all
want to
that
know how
junk.
many times like, is it 50%? Is it 70% of the episodes that it comes up on? Like, uh, and as this podcast kind of branches and we're gonna, we've had non-real estate investors on, we've had business buyers, just entrepreneurs in general, coaches, mindset coaches. As we get more of that, I'm curious to see what that percentage does as well. Because does
Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad translate to other just entrepreneurs? It does. A lot of most of the concepts do. It is
Yeah.
kind of I don't yeah the thing of real
More
estate. But I
traditional.
wanted to
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to, you mentioned the Bible there, and it it has a lot of business concepts in it. It has a lot of wealth building and managing, all those concepts in there you can pull and bring into your life and in your business. Like you should be leading with those things that the Bible talks about in there. So I love that you mentioned that. It's only been brought up a couple times on networking with Nathaniel, and it is a very prudent. It is the book that you should be reading first and every day, and putting in your life. It's something that I'm trying to do more. I don't want to get religious or political or anything on networking with Nathaniel, but it is a part of my life, and so talking about it is important. Um,
Yeah.
we
Well,
we talked about it. Go ahead. You had another
oh
point.
no, yeah. I
No.
was gonna say, it says that you can't live on bread alone, but about every word that's in every word that this is your living bread, right? And
Yeah.
because and then if you think about God, and whether you believe that He created the universe or not, it's magnificent. And to even
Mm,
think as to everything that's in place, just so we on planet Earth can survive, the
yeah.
order that to a precise millisecond or whatever that everything has.
Yeah.
So if you put order and organization and into your business, right, especially if you're led properly, you're going to have success, right?
Yeah. Mm, I love it. Yeah, I forget. I don't quote me on the numbers, but it's like if gravity was off by like 0.1%, we either shoot out into this universe or we smush onto the ground. Like, so it's like, yeah. We talked about it prior. I gave you a little heads up that this question was coming. I don't know if I've asked every guest so far, but most of the guests, once your time on this planet is done and you're up in heaven, God willing, what do you want to be remembered for by the people that you've left behind here?
You know, it's nothing earth shattering, but I would love that, that people just knew me as a good dude, and that they knew that I love the Lord, and that I love my family, and they love me. So, in my life, it's God, family, and then everything else, right? So it's my love relationship with the Lord, and that's first. So if that translates as it should to what He's done in my life to shine light, and that people can see that and know that, that would be one thing. And I can't say that's always the case, but it would be nice if that was the case whenever I'm out of here.
I don't want to take. I am curious now, as I'm listening to you. Did you find Jesus while you were in prison, or did you already, or I mean, did He find you while in prison? Yeah. Or did you already have a relationship there?
Absolutely not. No, I think I've been in like church since I was little, and then I think I remember I got saved when I was like 12, and then of course in and out of church, and then went off and did my own thing. I'm pretty sure what the church calls it, you backslide, and you turn away, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, you're off doing your own thing, not believing or having faith in what He did for you. But yeah, and then I think it was actually before I got busted that I rededicated my life back to Christ, and I was in the process of getting out of that whole thing that I was in, and I didn't lean far enough into trusting in Him. I'm still trusting in myself. I could just make $1 more. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, no, you're coming to me.
And I lost like $1 million.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, before we part ways, I want to invite you to it. I don't know if it will fit into your schedule, but this is something that I started with my dad. My dad is an evangelist, and I learn a lot from him in as far as the walk goes. We started a Zoom. It's every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and it's called Grace Cafe. It's called Life Conversations about Life, the Bible, and Noodle Salad. So we start with a topic. The first Monday we started with what the Bible says about wealth, and he picked a verse from Matthew. Oh, don't hold me to the exact verse, but it was about building your wealth in heaven as opposed to building your wealth on earth, building your health in heaven where it won't go away, essentially. And then
or it won't burn up.
Yeah, and letting the conversation just kind of goes, and we talk about whatever the people that want to talk about. So I'd love to invite you to that. It'll be we're having it in 5 days, and on the 20th is our next one. I'll send you the registration link. I'll send you the Zoom link for that. Yeah. I appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you so much, taking time out of your very busy day as you're working to scale yourself out of this wholesaling operation. I appreciate you putting up your best background, and I'm going to boot you off. If you would hang tight, though, I will see you in a minute. That was Aaron Lambert. No more Starbucks in the background. I am so grateful for him being here, for like I said, taking his time out of his schedule. He's working on a lot of cool things in Houston as well right now, and so he had to go to Starbucks right now. But if you are out there listening to this live, I appreciate y'all for being here as well, listening kind of silently in the background. I hope that you were able to take something from Aaron's story and all the things that he's done and is doing. If you have deals for him in in Vegas, please reach out to him at Aaron Lambert. He's on Instagram. He's not as active, he says, on Facebook. So to reach out to him on Instagram. If you're curious about doing more deals and need some help, need some guidance, setting some goals, putting some action steps into place, come to Helping Hands Hour Thursday at noon. It's every week. It's free. It's Thursday at noon Eastern time. You can reach out to me at Nathaniel.hovsepian. That's on Instagram, Facebook. You can go to nathanielhovsepian.com and connect with me there. Get the link for Helping Hands Hour. Please like, and if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to my channel so you can get notified as soon as we go live. Until next week, I appreciate y'all.